had this idea to maybe create some legislation that would help people with food allergies in restaurants. So I have a food allergy myself. I'm allergic to nuts. And there'd be many instances where I'd go to a restaurant and I'd place my order. I would tell them I have a nut allergy. I'd get my food. I would just, confirm, make sure there's no nuts, and yet there'd still be nuts. So I just wanted to maybe create some legislation that would help protect people with food allergies in restaurants. So I originally reached out to my representative, the national representative who represents Wisconsin down in DC, and he encouraged me to reach out to Representative Snyder at a more state level to get started there. So I proposed my ideas. I wrote to Representative Snyder, and he took to them immediately. So I had, I guess, 3 propositions at first. The first one would require restaurants to label their dishes and it would tell like us as diners what is in the dishes, like all the food allergens. The second idea would be to display food allergy posters that just talks about general awareness of food allergies, what to do if there is an allergic reaction in restaurants. And then the final idea was to require restaurants to display a notice at the bottom of their menus. And it would just say something along the lines of, anybody in your party has a food allergy, please inform your waiter and waitress. So I guess fast forward 3 years, now it has been voted out of the committee in the Senate, and we're waiting on a vote in the Assembly. And if it does get out of the Assembly, it will go to Congress, and they will vote as a whole. And if it gets passed through there, it will go to the governor, and then if he passes through, it will become a law. So that's kind of, I guess, like the gist of what has happened with this legislation.
I'll kind of help out here a little bit. So, yeah, I sat at his dining room table with his mom and his younger brother at the first time. And again, I didn't know a lot about food allergies and what the state did and what was required now. And I have to say that my staff, if you ever contact my office, my staff is outstanding. And the research they put into this was incredible. Now, there are federal guidelines that are out there that certain statutes have to be followed, but each state is a little bit different. I think the state, and you can kind of stuff, was Massachusetts.
Yes.
And they're a little more further along than we are in the state of Wisconsin. So they, Carter came to us and we started researching different things. And if you know legislation, and in order for things to get through, you have to usually work with the different folks that it will affect. So basically, we had to work with talk with the Wisconsin Restaurant Association, the Tavern League, and the grocers, and talk about legislation, language, things to that nature. The first item that Carter wanted to do with the food and the ingredients and all that didn't get a lot of warm response. To say that there would be a lot of cost involved in that. But the other two we were able to fashion into legislation. There are 2 bills that we put out. The first bill would be posters in the kitchen in whatever language that the workers in the kitchen can understand, saying that, educating them on the cross-contamination and the things of that nature. And Carter's not alone. Representative Subek out of the Madison area also testified, because she also has a nut allergy. And she testified, a lot of times people don't understand totally, and I didn't, I was ignorant in this, that if they bring a salad out and it has nuts on it, and Carter says, I'm allergic to nuts, they'll take the salad back and just pick the nuts off, and then bring back the salad. And so they're not fully educated on exactly what the cross-contamination is. And a lot of things too with some of the oils that are used that have peanut oil in it or something of that nature, they'll use in different, and even something on the grill, they might put shrimp down, and with that's used also for hamburgers and things. So little things like that. State does require now that someone in the kitchen needs to know about allergies, cross-contamination, and what to do if there is a reaction. So that's one of the bills that came through. And the other bill that came through was that we are giving a 1-year time period for restaurants, and a lot of them have already done it. But just as Carter mentioned, a note on the menu that if someone in your party has a food allergy to notify your server immediately. Now, if you're coming in, like if Carter's family comes in or some a group comes in, a lot of times they're proactive and they'll go. But if you have an allergy and maybe you're with a group of people that you work with and things, you don't maybe want to come right out and say it or be bold. But if it's on the menu, then you can tell the server, I do have. It's just a communication and education to this. And we put the 1-year time limit in because a lot of times restaurants will redo a menu annually or something to that nature. And if they don't, to be able to at least put maybe a sticker on there to have the server begin the engagement of talking at the table with that. So we worked with this. The grocers and the restaurant association, a lot of times when you put a bill out for the co-sponsorship, they'll register, and both registered neutral, which is good. You know, they don't want to register up, but they didn't register down, which is good. Because a lot of times other legislators see this and they might think, oh, it's over-regulation or something of that nature, but that was good. So the Senate lead is Senator Petrusky, and I was a lead in the Assembly side of things. And it came forward through the Senate. We had the hearing there, and that went very well. There was, you know, what's nice, there wasn't a lot of questions asked, which means it was pretty straightforward. And then Carter was able to come down, and I think it was great. He had the experience of testifying at the Assembly Committee. And so he came down and did the testimony in front of that committee. And I believe now the committee is going to, they call an executive, which means that the committee will vote on pushing this forward toward approval to get on the floor. And I believe it's going to get exec'd this week. I'm pretty sure this week it'll be exec'd out. And then with that, it'll come to the floor, and we'll vote. And it's very bipartisan, so I believe it will move through there. The Senate hopefully will also approve it, and then it'll move on to the governor. And I don't think the governor should have too many problems with this one, and he won't veto it, and he'll sign it in, and then we'll get Carter down for the signing ceremony too. But just a testament that a young man like this will have this in his resume, that he inspired legislation that will affect the state of Wisconsin. So. Well, I tell Carter and I tell everyone else, nothing's too, don't think it's too silly. You know, sometimes we maybe can't move forward on it, but to go through the process and think like, oh, it's kind of a dumb idea, I won't move forward with that. It isn't. Some of my bills that I have come through with are generated right here in this area. I had a power of attorney bill that came forward from an attorney at Aspirus to help people with their medical directives. So again, contact my office. No questions too silly. So yes, Mike.
Carter, I'm just curious, what have you learned through this process? I mean, it's lots of pieces here. What are some things that you've learned through this?
Well, I think it's just important to just persevere through like everything. As you know, it took like a long time, but we were able to, you know, we had our goal set and we never faltered from that.
He constantly called the office, getting updates like where were we and stuff like that. So yeah, he was very active, proactive. Yep.
Excellent.
I guess Gene, go ahead.
Thank you. I want to thank you personally for what you're doing. I'll tell you, for those of us that do have some sensitivities, there's an economic impact. Going out to dinner with my family, I order a tiny thing. They can make a lot more money if I were to order more, but if I don't know what's in it, I don't order it. There's an economic impact. So thank you very much.
I just had two quick comments, and again, thank you very much for sharing your story and doing this wonderful work. In the food pantry and food banking industry, I know we do ask, and it's part of our intake process, we ask our guests if they do have food allergies. And recently, I was pleasantly surprised. I was on a flight, a Delta flight, and somebody on that flight had a nut allergy. And the pilot came on and asked us, because I had bought a bag of nuts because I was hungry, it was late. and they asked us not to open it, not to eat if you had. And I'd never heard that before on a flight, so I was not upset about it. I thought, wow, how awesome is that they made that announcement for this individual, and it was just great. So I applaud you. That's wonderful.
Yes, Kurt?
Does the legislation apply to all size restaurants and anyone that serves food, or? is it a
It's
certain
pretty much
size?
everything. It won't affect like the concession stands at a football game or something of that nature. But even like a grocery store deli will have, you know, signage up saying that if you're allergic, let us know and explain.
Then who enforces it? Is it the health departments? County health departments will go in and make sure they're compliant?
Yes, yes. And then complaints from citizens.
Okay. Good job.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, first of all, Carter, thank you so much. I have a son, we were talking the same age as you. He has a peanut allergy. And you've probably gone through the same process of he'll touch something on his tongue and then wait 10 minutes to see if he has some sort of reaction. That's been his test. One of the things I had a question about is, and this has been a while ago, so I don't know if they've changed or not, but about 5 years ago I took a ServSafe for my company, and it had a lot to do with cross-contamination. I don't remember anything in the ServSafe, and that's by the National Restaurant Group. That's the training that most restaurants and most grocery stores have to go through to serve food. I don't know if anything's been added to that curriculum or not.
I'm not totally sure. I know that when we talk like with the Restaurant Association, there is something that someone has to be on duty to know a little bit about cross-contamination that they can share with the rest of the employees that work in the kitchen area.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I just don't remember much of it being talked about unless they've changed the curriculum over the last 5 years, so that may be something that.
well, and you know, the reason why this is so important to me and learning about this is because when I grew up and was in grade school in the 60s, a long time ago, I don't remember anyone having any allergies. You know, it's just like, you know, when you had a birthday, your mom cooked something up and you brought it in and everyone enjoyed. So this is something that is growing, and what was it, 4 to 6% of the children now have food allergies. Carter found out when he was exposed in preschool or in your child care, some peanut butter got on his hand and he had a reaction. So that's how he found out and was tested on it. So it's amazing. I've had family members come up. One son has a peanut allergy, the other doesn't. So it is very, you know, and the last thing is too, the EpiPens aren't cheap. So if you know, and we told this to the Restaurant Association, it's better to educate and avoid something to happen in your restaurant than to just go Wild West and suddenly have someone have a reaction. So, yes, Gene.
One more, with your extensive research, did you find any correlation between the genetically engineered food products that we're eating now, like corn and other, did you see any correlation with genetically engineered products?
You did a lot of research
Yeah,
on it.
I
so-
didn't come across anything of that nature, no.
Yeah, this guy had research. You wouldn't believe the stuff he did.
That's great.
So yeah, we haven't come across that yet
Yeah.
to be able to pinpoint it. So